She's a conservative and I'm a liberal, and yet we've been friends for almost 40 years. Everyone says you shouldn't discuss politics, religion, or money, and we say that's exactly what friends should be talking about. Join us as we tackle the conversations you're having in your head, but are too afraid to say out loud. Welcome to We've Got to Talk. Listener, we are doing a topic about climate and climate change. And I will just say that I'm very nervous about this topic. I'm not a scientist, and I know I'm going to get facts wrong no matter what I've researched and what I haven't researched. It has been a really interesting journey. Researching it, what I find wild is look at your shirt.
Jeff is gone this weekend, so I had the whole weekend to myself, and which I was so excited about, and just do what I wanted and eat what I wanted and watch what I wanted and go to bed when I wanted and wake up when I wanted, all the things that you do when you're alone. And now since Jeff has retired, we're together all the time. And so he did a golfing weekend with his buddy, so I was so excited to have this weekend to myself. Unfortunately, I went to church last night and then came home and made a glass of wine and popped some popcorn and started a new Netflix series. Went to bed, woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning, sicker than a dog. I kind of wake up at 7 and I'm like, oh my God, I just feel so groggy because I was up for probably 45 minutes in the middle of the night. And apparently I went back to sleep because I didn't wake up till 9 o'clock when Jeff was calling me saying he's on his way home. And I went, oh my gosh, like I've got to get up. So I get up and do all the things and take a shower. And I'm like, okay, I'm going all natural today. Like no hair, no makeup, like here we go. And I throw this shirt on because this is my comfy go-to shirt.
Okay.
This is when Jeff worked at Standard Oil in Knoxville, Iowa in high school. And his mother, he loved auto mechanics 1 and 2, and his mother was so concerned that he was going to be an auto mechanic and not go to college because he loved it so much that she said, okay, why don't you go to work at the gas station and just see if this is something that you really want to do. And so he went and worked at the Standard Oil, but he didn't get to work on cars. He only got to work like the cash register, like when people were paying for their gas.
Yes.
And so his love for auto mechanics kind of took a back seat. But he still had this shirt. And this shirt was in the basement of his mom's house after his parents had died. And I'm like, oh my God, I love that shirt.
It's
and
a great shirt.
I go, how come there's like no grease stains or anything on it? Like it's in good shape. And he goes, yeah, because I was working the cash register. I mean, that's all I got to do. So this is my go-to. Did not even think that we were doing this today with climate change and oil and gas and all the things. So
and wind and solar and wow.
Yeah.
And here
we are. I'm dressed for the part. Didn't even do it
you were
intentionally.
Totally dressed for the part. Do you have this similar anxieties to me about this, or are you just like?
So here's what's so interesting.
Yeah.
As I started to research this, I really started to research it a couple weeks ago when I had sent you that article from PragerU. You said, I'm not familiar with PragerU. I've gotten PragerU stuff from, and it's PragerU, like Prager University, and it was about climate change. Mm-hmm. And I'd sent that to you, and I said, what do you think about this? And you said, I think you gave me the emoji of, interesting face. And
well, then I looked it up.
You looked it up and you said, okay, well, this PragerU is known for being climate change denial people or website or, whatever. And so that's kind of where the conversation ended. So we never really did talk about, okay, well, but did you like the content or what did you think of the content and blah, blah, blah. So that's kind of where I started. Mm-hmm. Was looking at that, looking to see who wrote it, then checking, what did people say about the articles that he wrote and, trying to dive into all this. Here's what's so interesting. Again, this is so enlightening for me because as I Google the person who wrote this person who wrote this article, it was originally published in the Wall Street Journal in 2017. It was an article written by Steve Koonin, who is the Undersecretary for Science for the Obama administration. You would say that he was working in climate change sector for a Democrat. So it was interesting that he wrote an article, though, that was kind of anti-climate change. I mean, he was kind of questioning a lot of the science. So then So just Googling him in his Google, literally in the Google search, then it came out all the articles, not so much about his work, but all the people then that were questioning his resources. And so then if I went into my Brave, on my computer, I use Brave search engine, which doesn't allow, I think you use
DuckDuckGo.
Yeah. So it's one that isn't swayed or isn't influenced with your algorithms or what you're searching. And completely different stuff comes up. And it doesn't, like, it shows his stuff, but then it guides you to the National Oceanic, the NOAA, and the EPA
National
articles.
Oceanic Association. Is it NOAA? Is it
NOAA? Yeah. Atmospheric. Anyway, and the EPA articles. So it's so interesting to even Google a person or a topic, and that Google's going to take you down a more liberal path, and then the other ones are going to give you articles that you can do your own research on. Did you find that?
Well, yes, because, so first of all, I started with searching podcasts because I love to get my information that way. I'm a very oral person. I like to listen. I would say, and I went through the Apple podcast search engine, and everything was very liberal. And there was one thing that you had shared hilariously about Landman, where I love that show so much.
You do?
I love.
You and I have not talked about this.
I love that show
because
so
the
much.
whole time that I'm watching this, I'm like, oh, Nicole would love this. And I'm like, oh, God, no, she wouldn't.
Oh, no, I loved it. I love Billy Bob Thornton. I'm a huge Taylor Sheridan fan. You know,
that's a whole nother option. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So the Climate Deniers Playbook is the name of the podcast. And there are three young, very smart, getting into the weeds about climate. And they share this clip that you sent me. And I remember when I was Josh and I were watching the episode. So Billy Bob Thornton talks about how oil companies own the wind turbines, and that it will take 20 years to make up the cost. And the Climate Deniers podcast said, you know, Billy Bob's an actor, and he sells it really well.
Yeah.
But in actuality, it will only take 5.5 months to make up the cost, not 20 years. Because I was like, oh, wow, you know, because Taylor Sheridan will get sort of political, but it's all fiction. That was, I thought, really interesting. And then, Jolene, I was like, how are we going to talk about this? Because I really don't know if... I knew this. I asked you in the last session, okay, we got climate coming up. Are you a climate denier? And you, correct me if I'm wrong, you said, no, but we might believe why it exists is different. So I was like,
completely correct. Yeah.
Okay. So I started Googling, like, okay, how do we talk about this? I would Google, what are the main points that conservatives believe about climate change? So I could look at it from that angle. There were a couple things that came up a couple weeks ago, and then different stuff came up in the last week, which was that conservatives, this is of course a generalization, but conservatives were split, that the older people were sort of questioning the science and the younger people were not. And then what I found really interesting, which we can also put in the show notes, I found this group that you guys, it's called, the website is citizensclimatelobby.org, and it's Conservatives on Climate Change. It's Mitt Romney, it's Lindsey Graham, there's like 5 senators that are like heading
Republicans.
This group. And it was a really interesting conversation. They sort of deep dove, they talked about carbon taxes and how they felt that was a good way to start the conversation and how to use language in order to sell it, because the word tax always gets people a little like on their haunches. I found it really interesting. And then there was this other article in Forbes magazine, and it's called What I've Learned from Conservatives Who Are Addressing the Challenge of Climate Change. And it's written by a liberal, and he has all these libertarian and conservative friends. And talking about climate and how the only way we can really move ahead is to be bipartisan. The language is so fractured, and that there's a lot of things that we actually do agree on. And we can talk about where it comes from, like where the science is. And we can get into the weeds about it, which is, in a way, Jolene, I was thinking about this past weekend. Okay, everybody's, but it kind of doesn't matter if you and I both believe that it exists. What do we do now?
Yeah.
Right? Because we're all living on this earth, and I think we can agree that we would like our future generations to live a healthy, happy life.
So I think,
thoughts?
okay, let's start there, because I think one of the big misconceptions that Democrats have about Republicans is that we're deniers, like we're climate change deniers.
And that's
right?
exactly, Jolene, what I was like. I'm going through all this research, and I'm like, holy moly. We all think that you don't believe in it.
Right.
And Jolene, that's what we're told in the media over and over and over again. Which,
exactly.
If we start to understand that actually you do believe in it, then we could work together.
So so let's start at that point, because I think this is what you and I have said on so many different topics. Like, if we could start at the point where we agree, 80% of the things we would probably agree on.
Yes.
But it's the division that is killing us. Okay.
Yes.
So we have to start on whether things are getting worse. I mean, let's start with that, because one of the things then that I researched was going to this EPA, and I know you're going to ask me, so of course I have my notes. This is from the NOAA, the National Oceanic Atmospheric Association. Mm-hmm. March 2025. Again, this is so interesting. So this data comes from the National Climatic Data Center. And if you look at the last 100 years, so from 1925 to 2025, that the intensity is of heat. Let's take a look at heat waves. Mm-hmm. The intensity and the frequency have not changed. And that, like, the 1930s were really bad. I mean, we can talk about the Dust Bowl and, how bad the 1930s were. So if you take a look at the last 100 years and you include the 1930s, that the frequency intensity of heat waves was much worse then than it is now. Well,
today, I mean, the research that I did, like in 2024, it's been the hottest year on record since they have been.
Okay, so let me finish this.
Okay.
If you go to the EPA website, their data starts in 1960. Interesting, because that changes the narrative, right?
Sure.
If the 10 years of, 1930 to 1940 were extremely, this anomaly of heat waves, that's going to skew the data. So if you look at the last 100 years, there's no change. But if you look at the last 50 years, now it's a different story. So that right there tells me that it's where you get your data that can shape the narrative of your story.
Right.
Okay, so then this Steve Koonin, the article that I originally referenced, he then, when Trump came on the second term, Trump wanted to start a climate, and maybe this is what you were referring to with Mitt Romney and those folks. He wanted to start a climate discussion again and have a committee. And he asked the Steve Koonin then to be a part of this committee as well, to try to get a balanced committee together to, start having these conversations. But it is interesting, though, that Steve Koonin's his take on this now is that there's so much ambiguity in the data and so much of the climate projections. So, if you take the last 100 years and then you have to project it and say in the next 100 years, this is going to happen, right? Because that's part of the narrative now that climate changers are, or that climate change people are advocating. What does this look like in the next 100 years? How do the things that we do right now, the amount of fossil fuels that we consume and all that, how is that going to affect us in the next 100 years or 500 years, correct? So I think that's where there's so much confusion, because as Steve Koonin was talking about, you can't take what happens in the last 100 years and then extrapolate that out into the next 100 years, because there are so many different factors. When you look at our globe as, in the history of the Earth, and you've had the Ice Age, and then, so how do we know that what we're doing has that much of an effect on what the climate's going to be in 100 years or 10 years or 500 years?
Okay, so we do know that fossil fuels creates greenhouse gases and that there is a burning ozone layer. And that here's where I'm confused, because don't we as Americans, let's take this in a different direction. Don't we want, and by the way, this, just to clarify, this citizensclimatelobby.org has nothing to do with Trump. Let's just put it out there.
Oh, okay.
It's nothing to do with Trump. It's just a bunch of conservative people that have come together that are very passionate about the climate and are conservative.
Okay.
Let's look at this a different way. So, as Americans, don't we want to be innovators? Like China, for instance, is way ahead in the wind and solar space. And what if we looked at this as a different way? Yes, there are issues with the amount of space that you need for solar, the amount of space you need for wind. They are still trying to figure out how to dispose well of solar panels. There's waste. Like, nothing is perfect. And I feel like when we innovate, we need to give everyone grace to figure out how to do things. And that we want to also be ahead in this global race of energy. And let's just look at it in a capitalistic perspective. Don't we want to be the top of the world?
Yes, but I think you're moving on to the next step without addressing, I think, first fundamental difference between Republicans and Democrats have to be, is there anything that we can do as humans to really affect climate change? Because one thing that came from Steve Koonin's article, and again, I know I keep referencing him, but I thought it was a really good article that came with facts, is that CO2, that the carbon dioxide hangs around for a long time, and it doesn't leave the atmosphere in a few days. In fact, 15 to 30% of the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere will be that we're generating today will be there in 1,000 years. That it will take 20 years for more than 60% of that carbon dioxide to leave our atmosphere.
So because of that, do you suggest we don't do anything?
No.
Okay.
So I think we have to wrap our heads around, when we talk about Paris Climate Accord and trying to make legislative changes around the amount of energy that we're consuming and the amount of, the carbon emissions and all that we have to stop pretending that we can make a real difference by decreasing our carbon emissions by 40%. I don't think that's really going to do that much in terms of our climate. Now, if you want to look at it, that we should do it because there's nothing wrong. I mean, like, that is a proactive way that we're not going to have fossil fuels forever, and so we've got to find alternatives. Absolutely, and I think we all agree with that, and we can look at it from a business perspective and capitalism and all that. But to think that we're going to, I look at California making everybody drive an electric car by 2030, or, making legislative changes like that, or demands on U.S. consumers, you're not making a big enough difference in the world climate, but it's a huge burden to the consumer who has to buy an electric car in California and can't afford it. So I think that's where the balance has to take place.
I'm hearing you, and I'm seeing it a little differently. In terms of the Paris Agreement, and maybe this is the idealistic liberal in me. So I'm going to give you an example of something. We went to Brazil a couple summers ago, and we were on a photography trip, and we were in this fairly remote northern town in Brazil, and we had to go to the grocery store to go get some water and supplies as a group. So we drive into town, and it's this massive, massive grocery store. I've never seen anything like it. And we were going to get our waters, and there was, people from all over coming to get their goods. And they were leaving, and they were like triple plastic bagged leaving the store. So many plastic bags. And I looked at Josh and I was like, what the fuck? Sorry, Linda. But I thought, how are we going to, as a world, survive? Why are we recycling when this is like that? We can't compete with this. And there's a huge disconnect. And so what I think of in the Paris Agreement was a way for the world to come together. Can we create some regulations? Can we put some eyes on each other to try to keep us in check, to understand that this is a whole world that we share, right? And how can we, and where I think you and I agree is that it takes small steps for everyone to make agreements, because also you can't get away from greed and someone's always going to work the system. Someone's always going to cheat. So that's going to happen. But I think the Paris Agreement was a way to hey, this collective group of people or countries, let's work together and try to figure this out. This is not an American issue or a European issue or a South American issue. This is a global issue. Because yes, I hear you. I think we've talked about these in other episodes. When the government makes these declarative, we are going to stop emissions by 2030. You will be able to only drive this by blah, blah, blah. It never works. Yeah. It never works. Because people are like, F you, don't tell me what to do. Yeah. I mean, Americans, the reason Americans exist is don't tell me what to do. Even liberals.
Okay, but going back to the Paris Climate Accord, if China and India are not a part of that, and they're the biggest culprits, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if we decrease.
We are too.
Right. So if so at the peril of losing jobs to China, the way that, that was one of your very first points was, don't we want to be innovative and beat, China at this game? If they aren't adhering to the same rules that we are, how is that fair? I mean, how does that? It's
not, Jolene. It's not.
Okay, so would you agree that the Paris Climate Accord then was stupid? I mean, it was all fluff. It was, the word that you always like to use is performative. That it's very performative.
I think it was hopeful. I don't think it was performative. I really think that they were hoping they could do something. Did it not work? I don't know. But I think there was really good intention behind it. And I think that happens a lot in politics. I think this is an enormous issue that we can't do alone. But I think it's more of how do we've got to start somewhere. This is all of our world. The world doesn't care whether we're Republican or Democrat, right? Because what I also think is an issue, and I think that the media exacerbates it with their language and what they report on. Where do we start? I was talking to Josh yesterday. He sent me an article. It was from the Wall Street Journal, and it was about solar in the South. And it was the most confusing. It's one thing that I'm learning with doing this podcast with you, reading something, seeing the lead. I never did this before, but the title was Southerners Aren't Sure About Solar Anymore. And so then I'm reading it, and it's about this solar company, and they were going to put solar panels in the forest in Georgia, but it was impacting the black bears so much so that they were like crunching the black bears in a space where they were inbreeding and having birth defects. Then the company was like, oh, we have to stop. And they stopped and they moved it, right? They didn't, like, it wasn't like, oh, we're going to keep on deforming the bears. Like, it was just like, okay, we didn't know. We pulled back. And then there's another farm in Tennessee where there's nothing there. It's like on the highway and it's doing great. And Trump's like, it's ridiculous. Okay, Trump thinks it's ridiculous, but it's working. But it was like the weirdest article to the point where I was like, I don't really understand the point of this article.
Yeah. Okay, I flew from, it must have been Dallas to San Diego in January. We were at a trade show. And it was during the day. And it was so interesting to see, so think about between Dallas and San Diego and, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and the amount of solar farms that were out there. Like I'm looking out there going, now what is that? And then I finally realized it's all of these solar farms that are in the middle of, desolate, areas. And I'm like, okay, that's brilliant. That is.
Okay, you and I totally agree.
Yeah. Like,
totally
okay, that's not farmland. It's not fertile land. There's nothing else. It's not near towns.
Exactly.
It's in the desert. Why wouldn't you put a solar farm out there?
And why wouldn't you put a solar panel on an oil field?
Right.
Meaning like, okay, we're not going to let go of fossil fuel right now. So let's think differently. How do we, as a country, go, all right, how do we start to move forward and start to understand that this is not forever?
Yeah.
And wouldn't the oil companies make tons of bank on solar energy too?
Now, I don't understand the infrastructure part of that, though.
I don't either.
How do you get the energy that you harness then from a solar field? How you get that to a power generator?
Yeah,
I guess I don't understand.
I leave that to the solar people. That's not our job.
Do you know, growing up, my dad was a home builder. And so the house that we lived in growing up, we had solar panels. And my dad was strict Dutchman conservative, but he saw this from a construction standpoint,
Sure.
saw the value in solar. So we had a passive system in our, we had a passive and an active solar system in our house. And so
that's
we had a
so ahead of
sunroom.
your time.
Oh my God, he built this in 1980.
That's incredible, Jolene.
Isn't that crazy? We had solar panels on the side of, the south side of our house, but we also had an atrium with all windows and then a fan system that could then heat the house from that. We could heat our hot water through our fireplace. So in the winter, there was water piped through our fireplace. So when we had a fire in the fireplace, then it would generate heat for the living room. It was also going to a tank in our garage to heat our hot water. That was a hot water tank.
Wow.
And it was truly innovative. So like the whole solar thing, I think is again, let's put brilliant minds and say, how do we do this?
How do we do this? And what's been also interesting in the research too is that if Trump has his way, he changes his mind every 2 seconds. But he wants no more solar, no more wind, and there's a ton of solar and wind in red states. And the Congress people in the Senate are going, stop, like we need.
Okay, why do you say he doesn't want any more solar or wind?
The big beautiful bill were about like cutting solar and wind, and that senators and Congress people are like, oh my God, please don't. These are jobs in our states that voted for you. So it's that sort of extreme behavior.
Well, okay, so I would argue that it's not that he doesn't believe in it. It's that maybe the infrastructure that is around those things he's cutting. He's cutting left and right. So, I would say I don't think it's a safe assumption to say he's not for solar or wind. I think he's for nuclear. I think he's for alternative energy. For sure. It's just the way that we go about it. And I would say that's probably the biggest thing that we've got to come together on, between Democrats and liberals is Democrats and Republicans, conservatives and liberals is okay. Yes. And back to your point. I mean, let's develop the technology, all the solar panels that we're buying and all the report.
Right? Can't we do both?
But if we are sourcing our materials for solar panels and electric batteries and all of those things from China, that helps China. That does not help America.
Right.
So, I mean, this goes to Ukraine. I mean, if we can get the minerals that we need to make the batteries and the equipment for solar panels, but we're getting them from countries that we're not supporting. God, that's the thing that, I mean, Trump was trying to work with Ukraine, going, give us,
But they made an agreement.
Right, but I'm saying that's the kind of stuff that we need to work on. Right. Is, okay, who's got the stuff that we need to do this ourselves so we're not helping China? Because all of this, if we're pushing this stuff, China's the one who's benefiting.
Yeah. I just want to bring this up because this is going to seem like it's not on point, but Donald Trump on Truth Social posted this. And I'll put it, if I can, I don't know how I can, put in the show notes.
Do you follow Truth Social?
Absolutely not. So you see this picture.
Yeah, but I can't tell. Is it Trump?
It's Trump. It's Trump,
okay,
a long time ago.
Okay.
And what it says is that Joe Biden actually was executed in 2020 and he's a clone. And that Democrats are so stupid that they don't know the difference. Come on. And the reason I bring that up is that it feels a little David and Goliath right now.
Okay, there's a reason why you brought that up right now. Like, we're having a conversation about climate change, and then you bring that up right now. Tell me why that triggered you.
Because we are having this really great discussion about climate change. And we are really talking and coming together and trying to
You and I,
things.
or
you and me, Jolene.
Yeah.
You girl.
No, I didn't know if you meant like as a society.
No,
we
you
are,
and me.
Or
you
okay,
and
okay,
me
okay,
are
okay,
really
yeah.
trying.
Okay.
We're researching. We're delving. We want to try to figure out because this is something that impacts all of us.
Yeah.
It costs a ton of money. Damage every year. It impacts our health. All of it.
Yeah.
So I was struck because I'm thinking to myself, I do believe that there are more of us out there than the hate. I really do. But the hate is loud. And the fear is loud. It bombards us. On both sides. I'm not just saying the right. But we have a president that really likes to tweet. Like a lot. And it's not generally kumbaya stuff. And so why I was triggered or inspired to bring this up was like, wow, here we are coming together, thinking about things. And where I met the David and Goliath reference was that we're up against a lot because that is just like, just being
poking
mean.
The bear.
Like, what's the point of that?
Okay, so let me ask you. So you don't follow him on Truth Social?
No, I don't. No,
How
God,
did you
no.
see that?
Oh, Josh texted it to me.
And where does Josh get on Truth Social?
No, he has a group of guy friends that are super into politics.
Because this goes back to the way we started this whole thing.
Okay.
That there are media people, and maybe it's not media, maybe there are organizations that are trying to pit us against each other.
Oh, yes.
And so for someone to send that to you or a friend of Josh and go, look what's on Truth Social, and I'm assuming none of them look at Truth Social. So someone has sent that to them.
So you're suggesting
to trigger
that
him.
it's not real?
No, I'm not saying it could be real. It could,
I don't know.
I mean, I have no idea because Trump. I mean, we all know that Trump puts stuff out
Right.
that in the middle of the night, and you're like, why? And we all wish that somebody had Trump's phone and said,
Right.
let
I mean,
us
I
handle
don't want
this.
to. I apologize, Jolene. I don't want to get off. I don't mean it to be about this. It's just that I feel like there's so much negative energy.
I understand, but I'm saying, where's this negative energy coming from? And it triggered you enough to get so pissed off that here you and I are having a conversation about something, but this was in the back of your mind. Like, why let that bother you? Like that is, and somebody went searching for that and sent it to Josh, and Josh sent it to you. Like that's the problem. That
Yes.
there are things out there
On both
that
sides.
are trying
Would you
to.
agree?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. That there are things out there, or people, organizations, news, whatever it is, that are trying to pit us against each other instead of talking about the issues. And this is such
Which
a
is
great
exactly
example.
what we're doing.
Right.
Like we're having this discussion, and then my brain goes to that.
100%.
Yeah.
And that's the whole goal, and you could say it's
They
Russian
got me,
bots.
Jolene. They
I
got
know.
me.
Why get distracted by the crap that either Trump says or somebody else says for Trump or whatever? That I don't subscribe to Truth Social. I don't want to hear that crap.
No, I don't either. And I remember when we started this podcast, we were going to go on all the social media platforms, and a friend of mine was like, well, aren't you going to go on X and Truth Social? And I was like, and I thought about it for a couple of days. And I remember saying to you, I can't. That's too much.
I know. So don't let it distract you. I would say that to both sides. Don't let the
You're
people
right.
try to distract us from, having conversations.
You're a very wise woman, Jolene.
It's because I was sicker than a dog last night, and I got rid of all the vitriol that was inside my system. The devil came out of me last night. I'll tell you that right now. Like, there's no question.
I can't believe you were agreeing to do this today.
Oh, I feel better. I had
so
all that stuff
glad.
in me, obviously.
I'm so glad.
Okay, I have a would you rather.
Oh my gosh. Give it to me. Wait, are we done with climate? We're not done with climate.
I feel like this. You know what? I'm so excited that we were able to have this conversation, and I would love to hear from our viewer. Like, if this was this enlightening, or did we skirt the topics? Or I would love to hear what our listener thinks.
And if the listener has ideas, whether you're conservative or liberal, and let's talk about it together. You can comment on YouTube. You can reach out. We have a beautiful website, www.we'vegototalk.com, and you can reach out to us there. You can reach out to us on Instagram at We've Got to Talk. And this is a topic that impacts everyone, right?
Yeah.
And so I think the more we understand that all of us, I don't know, let's say 95% of us are on the same page.
Yeah.
That, okay, let's start from there and baby steps and not make these huge declarations, because those don't work.
Yep.
It's like when you're a little kid, you can't give an ultimatum. Or in a love relationship, you cannot give an ultimatum. They don't work.
Yeah.
So where do we start? Like, I think that would be a start.
I
And we
agree.
can come back to this, obviously.
That's the other thing. I think you and I have gotten such great feedback from people that, hey, could you talk about this? My friend has sent me something and I've not done the research. Kirby, I'll get to it. She wants our take on this. And so we love the feedback. We love listening to what your comments are. If you've commented on the entire show and not the 30-second snippet,
Yeah.
please. Because I just think that is that's helpful for us, that we can come back to a topic, or, hey, you guys said this, could you look at this? We love to hear that. So
We absolutely do. We absolutely do. Okay. Would you do your would you rather?
would you rather get on a subway train with a known gang member, or get in a taxi where the driver is a known terrorist?
I'd get on the subway with a known gang member.
Why?
This is a deeper answer, Jolene.
Oh, okay.
Living in New York City and being a subway taker, we live among each other wildly well, considering. During rush hour, it's insane how close we get together. In the train, smashed up together, all economic backgrounds, all walks of life, all religions, all ethnicities, and it's an incredible experiment that works wildly well. And the other note, gang members are people. And a lot of times, having worked I used to volunteer for my friend's organization called Drama Club NYC, which is an incredible organization where we teach acting and improv to incarcerated kids. The kids are as young as 12 and they're incarcerated to about 18. And some of them are gang members. And a lot of the times you find, people are in gangs not to discredit any violence that happens. But a lot of times the gang happens because they're looking for family. They don't have any support at home. They don't have any food. There's a lot of reasons why people join gangs, and it's usually as basic as I want to belong. And unfortunately, people take advantage of it and hurt these kids and manipulate these kids, and they turn to violence. But at the beginning and the middle of the end of the day, again, conservative audience, I don't condone gangs. I don't condone violence, but I am not afraid of people. Terrorist, hells to the no. That's a whole other brainwash, because something's going on there. I've done improv with the kids, and they're like beautiful human beings that were so lost. And that's my very long answer to why.
Dang, that was much deeper than I thought it was going to get. But I love that. And I love to learn that. And I think our listener loves to hear that.
Yeah, listen, I think New York City gets a bad rap. And then when you go, you've been many times, like, for the most part, New Yorkers are so kind. And they can, we've talked about this before, you can totally tell when someone's lost. And you all don't look like a New Yorker because you're so clean and happy. And so we know. And we want to help because it's a big old city.
Could I wear this shirt in New York and not stand out?
Oh my God, people would love that. Are you kidding? You could get some serious cash for, like, in the thrift world.
I've had somebody offer me $200 for this shirt before.
Absolutely, it's good.
And I go, oh no.
The hipsters and Bushwick would be all over that shirt. Are you ready?
Yes, please.
Would you rather solve world hunger or global warming?
Well, obviously world hunger, because I think global warming has a natural phenomenon aspect to it. I think we are contributing to it, and I think that we can change it to a degree, like literally
no
1
pun
degree.
Intended.
Thank you. But world hunger. I've often said that if I won the lottery, one of the things that I would do is start a water project. I think water is probably more important than food. That, if you don't have water, you can go 30 days without food. You can't go more than 3 days without water. That I would love to contribute, and I know there's a really good organization, water.org, that we did a lot of fundraising for in our church when we lived in Missouri. That right there is the thing that is so, man, if you can solve a water issue, that you could solve so much. Then you can grow crops, and you can, stop dysentery, and all the issues. So, yeah.
I wish there were more billionaires. I'll just say that thought like you, thought about water instead of worrying about space. And you know what? They could do both. They probably have that much money that they could do both. And obviously there are people that contribute anonymously. So you billionaire listening, if you're contributing, great. But I'm the same, Jolene. If I had a ton of money, I would absolutely would want to help with water.
How do you know that they're not?
I don't. Well, why I think they're not is because why are so many people starving?
Because their governments are corrupt. Look at Haiti.
But people are starving here.
Oh, well, that's true. No.
So it just feels like we're in that culture right now that there are so much, the people that have so much money, but there isn't this sense of let me share it. It is, I don't know how long I'll have it. That seems to be the impulse.
But I don't think we know that. I think you're making an assumption about rich people, that rich people just are money hungry and keep their money and they buy things. I would like to think that they've got a lot of money and they've got ways to divert some of it, for tax purposes, but they're giving it away, to maybe benefit them from a tax standpoint, but also in their hearts they're giving it away. I mean, how do you know that they're not?
Yeah, I'm absolutely making an assumption. I am making an assumption because from what I've read, there are more billionaires than ever, and it feels like, at least our country, I won't speak for other countries, that our country is really struggling. The people are having a really hard time making ends meet and going to the grocery store. And so absolutely I'm making assumptions.
I just know from our community, like we have really good food banks. I mean, we do see that there's a lot of resources also out there for people.
Yeah. Viewer that watches on YouTube, do us a big solid and press that thumb. Every time you press that thumb, it gets
the thumbs up.
The thumbs up.
Not the thumbs down.
Yeah, not the thumbs down. The thumbs up. It gets us one step closer to maybe, it kicks that algorithm in and, one step closer to competing with Joe Rogan. How about that?
Oh, wow.
Let's think big, girl. Let's think big.
Okay. So, so subscribe.
Subscribe on YouTube.
Like.
Push the thumbs up button. Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Give us 5 stars if you like us. And maybe don't if you don't. Don't do anything if you don't.
Don't tell me. If you like us, please let us know.
Yes.
If you don't say anything.
Don't say anything.
No, just keep it to yourself.
Yeah. If you don't have something nice to say, it's not what your mom taught you.
Don't say anything at all. Yes,
there
absolutely.
You go.
I love that.
But honestly, also, if you have any ideas for topics, we're totally open. If you're frustrated, if you're sad, if you're happy, if you can share a story of someone that's opposite of you, that you've had a tough conversation and are here to talk about it, and maybe got closer with your friend or your sibling or your parent.
Yeah. Great.
And keep trying. This is really, really hard, but I think I'll just speak for myself, Jolene. It's really worth it. I'm so 100%. Grateful for you.
I am so grateful that we are doing this.
Me too.
Love you, friend.
I love you, friend. I'll see ya.
We've Got to Talk is produced across the world by the wildly talented, creative, and hilarious team at Bambi Media. Our theme song is Jump Jive Swing by Space Train Unlimited. Thank you so much for listening, and join us every week for another episode of We've Got to Talk.